I grew up in a silent house at the edge of a dying desert town where the wind sounded more like a warning than weather. My mother worked nights, my father wasn't around, and most evenings I sat on the front steps watching headlights vanish into the dunes. I remember feeling small, like the world was too big for me, and I was always one gust away from being blown out of existence. I used to trace shapes in the dust with my fingers, wishing someone would talk to me, look at me, anything. The quiet felt heavier than loneliness. It felt alive. Even as a child, I sensed something watching from the endless highway stretching past our house. Something patient. Something waiting. Back then, I didn't understand fear. I only understood absence. Years later, after my mother died, I started driving long-haul deliveries to keep myself afloat. The desert highway became my home, a place where I could escape grief by letting the miles swallow me whole. One night, around 2 a.m., the sky looked bruised, and the wind carried a strange whistle, like a cry stretched thin. My headlights cut through the darkness, revealing nothing but sand and broken fence posts. Then I saw it, a figure standing on the shoulder of the road, not waving, not walking, just standing. I slowed, thinking maybe someone's car had broken down, but as I got closer, the figure stepped backward into the dark, dissolving like smoke. I felt something inside me tighten. It wasn't the first time I'd seen strange shapes out here, but this one felt deliberate, like it knew me. I kept driving, pretending the sighting didn't bother me, but my chest felt colder than the night air. The road ahead shimmered in the heat mirage, even though it was long past midnight. My radio crackled with static, then went dead. When I glanced in the rearview mirror, I saw someone sitting in the back seat. I froze, fingers trembling against the steering wheel. The shape was faint, more a silhouette than a person, but I recognized the posture instantly. Shoulders slumped, head tilted, as if burdened by years of disappointment. My throat tightened. I whispered, "Mom?" The silhouette didn't answer. I blinked, and it vanished, leaving the air smelling faintly of her old perfume. The desert outside seemed to press closer, squeezing the truck, squeezing me. I knew then something had followed me onto that highway. A few miles later, I saw another figure, this time standing directly in the middle of the lane. I slammed the brakes, tires screaming against the asphalt. The truck shuddered to a stop just inches from the figure. My headlights illuminated a woman, but not my mother. It was her. Wrong. Taller, thinner, her limbs too stiff, her neck bent at an unnatural angle, as if someone had twisted it slowly. Her eyes were hollow pockets of shadow. When she smiled, the corners of her mouth stretched too far, as if her skin were tearing. She raised a hand and tapped once on the hood of the truck, a soft, sharp tap. My breath hitched. Something deep inside me knew she wasn't human. Yet she wore my mother's expression, that look she had when she caught me lying, disappointed, hurt, angry. I couldn't move. Her face leaned closer to the windshield, and her skin shifted like something underneath was pushing to escape. She mouthed words I couldn't hear, but I felt them. Accusations, regret, blame. My radio cracked again, and her voice, my mother's voice, whispered through the static. "Why did you leave me alone?" My stomach twisted. She pressed her palm to the glass, and the windshield began to frost over despite the desert heat. I threw the truck into reverse, tires skidding. Her handprint burned into the glass, glowing faintly like embers. As the truck jerked backward, she remained standing perfectly still, watching, waiting. Her shadow stretched unnaturally long across the road, reaching for the wheels like black fingers. The desert felt smaller, The night felt tighter, and I felt her eyes burrowing into my memory. I sped down the highway, heart pounding like it was trying to escape my chest. But the further I drove, the stronger the feeling grew that I wasn't alone. The temperature inside the truck dropped. Breath fogged the glass. Something scraped along the roof. Slow, deliberate strokes. Then a whisper drifted down. "Don't run from me." I jerked the wheel, nearly swerving off the road. In the mirror, I saw her crawling across the roof, limbs bending like broken branches. Her face pressed upside down against the driver's side window, smiling with torn lips. I screamed and swerved again. She disappeared, then reappeared in the passenger seat beside me, silently staring. I felt her fingers brush my arm. Cold, thin, impossibly long. I slammed the brakes, stumbling out into the sand, gasping. The desert swallowed the sound, offering no escape. I stumbled away from the truck, but the sand shifted beneath my feet like something alive. Every direction looked the same, endless dunes, no lights, no wind, no sound. Then I heard it, footsteps behind me, slow, heavy, intentional. I turned and saw her emerging from the darkness, but now she looked even more distorted. Her spine jutted out in jagged peaks, her face sagged, melting like wax. She whispered my name, each syllable stretched thin, breaking. I ran, legs burning, lungs tearing, but her footsteps grew louder, closer. A hand clamped around my ankle, icy and rough. I fell forward, choking on sand. She pulled me back, her grip impossibly strong. "Look at me," she demanded, but her voice wasn't my mother's anymore. It was deeper, older, something that had worn her shape like a mask. She dragged me across the sand until the highway reappeared beneath us, shimmering like black glass. I screamed, but the desert swallowed every sound. She leaned close, her rotting breath filling my lungs. "You brought me back," she whispered. And suddenly, the truth crashed into me. The night my mother died, I ignored her call. I saw her number, felt annoyance twist inside me, and let it ring. She'd been stranded on this very highway after her car broke down. She waited for me, hoped for me, died alone because of me. The creature's smile widened. "You left her," it whispered. "Now she won't leave you." Her face shifted again, flickering between my mother's features and its own monstrous form. I realized then that the desert hadn't just been watching me all these years. It had been waiting to collect its debt. I scrambled toward the truck, crawling on bleeding hands. The creature followed on all fours, moving with unnatural speed. I reached the door, yanked it open, and slammed myself inside. The engine roared to life, but the creature clung to the side, clawing at the window. Her nails carved deep grooves into the glass. "You can't run," it hissed. I floored the gas. The truck fishtailed before straightening, speeding down the highway. She crawled across the hood again, face pressed to the windshield. I punched the glass from inside, screaming, but she only laughed. A low, rattling sound that vibrated in my bones. Her face split open, revealing layers of teeth that didn't belong in a human mouth. She struck the windshield once, twice. Cracks spread like spider webs. On the third strike, the glass exploded inward. The truck veered off the road, flipping into the dunes. I felt my bones shatter, heard metal scream, tasted blood. When the world finally stopped spinning, I was upside down, hanging from the seatbelt, unable to move. The night was silent again, too silent. Then I heard her crawling toward the wreck, slow, relentless. She pulled herself through the shattered windshield, her ruined face inches from mine. "Now you stay," she whispered, her fingers wrapped around my throat, not squeezing, but holding, claiming. The desert wind finally returned, blowing sand over the wreck, burying me inch by inch. I couldn't scream, couldn't breathe, could only stare as she settled beside me, folding her limbs like a faithful companion. The last thing I felt was her cold hand on my chest, sinking with my fading heartbeat. And then, nothing.